9.7% of people between the ages of 15 and 64 consumed cannabis in 2020. That's compared with 3.8% worldwide. Opioids, particularly tramadol, were abused by 2.4% of the same population, compared to 1.2% worldwide. Drug abuse was mostly a problem among men under the age of 35. West Africa is a transit route for illegal drugs on their way from South America to Europe. But growing instability has facilitated drug production and trafficking, generating revenue for armed groups. Let's get more on that story now. CGTN's Deji Bademosi is in Lagos and joins us for more on that report. Deji, the UN report indicates that drug use is remarkably high in West and Central Africa, as we heard there. What else is the report saying, and just how big a problem is this?
Well, look, Mahia, you go through the report, you clearly would see that drug is now a bigger problem than any of us had ever thought. And that, unfortunately, it's actually something very big in Africa, even though it would appear most of the countries in Africa do not see it that way. But obviously, it's a big problem. Clearly, from the report, you could see that Africa is no longer a transit route, for instance, for drugs. It's now more or less a destination point. The consumers of drug is actually growing in Africa, and at a rapid level. In fact, one report estimates that by 2050, the number of drug users in Africa will be around, especially sub-Saharan Africa now, will be around 14 million. And that is very frightening. And this report actually captures part of that. I mean, clearly showing that drug use and abuse is rising, not just in Africa anyway, everywhere in the world. But more disturbing, of course, is Africa, where you cited those figures now. 9.7% for cannabis use, really high, when the global average is just 3.8%. And then you talk about opioids like tramadol, for instance, 2.4%, and the global average is 1.2%. So it's really a problem. We see that across Africa, and especially in Western Central Africa. Nigeria is a very big problem. You look at the number of seizures that have been made in recent times. For instance, from last year to this point, the number of seizures that have been made by the country's National Drug Law Enforcement Agency is really high. Hardly any week goes by in this country, as we speak, Mahia, that you don't have one form of seizure or the other. And you have the same situation almost across Africa, in Central Africa. And key to all of this is the fact that most of these places where you have this high drug use, they are all places that are prone to conflict, that are dealing with one form of conflict or the other. So the report is, it paints a very stark picture now for Africa, for the world, but especially for West and Central Africa, and that efforts need to be redoubled to check the problem.